Hey everybody, my name is Martin Murphy, and this is my e-portfolio for University of South Florida's Instructional Technology program. And this is my website. I'm so proud of it because I made it from scratch. Check this out. I have the website set up to work with a media query. So this right off the bat should be a pretty good summary of the skills and abilities that I developed. This is probably the most complicated website ever made. There's some cases where I wish the formatting behaved a little bit better. Probably the biggest challenge I had was centering those divs. But again, I'm really happy with the media query. I'm at work right now because I have some different software. So at Ringling, I don't have brackets, which is the superior text editor that Dr. Smith introduced me to. Some of the things that I learned while creating this website was I did some funny things trying to figure out the perfectness of centering some objects like these icons. I can show you that real quick. Let me go back. So to get them in the middle here, these little icons, I used something new to me at least, calc for centering objects. I thought that was useful. And then I probably could still be a little bit more efficient in all the classes that I created, but this is probably what I value, one of the things I value the most out of, technically speaking, going to University of South Florida. I feel really pretty confident. I'm still learning and really engaged with it. Thank goodness for W3 Schools and Stack and Stack Overflow and some of the other web resources out there. I definitely couldn't have done it without that. Some of the things I'm less proud of are probably my JavaScripting. As an artist, this is an area in which I need some more time with. So getting into the standards here, this is probably the second most complicated website I made. This is an actual course proposal I made here at Ringling, and it really shows my ability to create and use the technology that I was taught in web design. This was an element of the rubric. I thought that was good. It helped focus people's attention to the criteria just by hovering and created some interactive delight looking at it. And so this is an element that I showed in regards to the AC standard 1.2 of using. This is a tutorial that kind of shows how to utilize tables and hovers, even though divs is a more preferred method of working. But at this point, with my comfort level, I'm able to do both tables and divs, and my current portfolio website is more of a documentation of my ability to do divs and treat them like tables, which was cool. But the big thing I like about this is just it's subtle, but the small interactions here, and this shows you my ability. This video here shows my ability, first to record a tutorial, and I'm on here talking.
This is all really pretty simple at this point.
And I talk about what I'm doing here, but I'm giving references to other locations. One of the other elements of the AC standard content knowledge was in the web design class again. This assignment was really focused on analysis, and it demonstrates my ability to review a website and its information. So if a client wanted to have a redesign, I can go scope out what they're already doing and then really kind of critically look at what is the type of audience they're trying to attract. And in this artifact here, it kind of gives you a hint of my attempts to be humorous in my storytelling and trying to capture this, what can be kind of dry material, but to have some fun with it, but take it seriously enough that people find value in it and then still, find interest. So this is an assignment that shows not only my ability to evaluate and kind of itemize an existing website, but it provides some analysis as well. Going on down, Dr. Smith has a great assignment about making bread without any sugar, and again, I hope this is well received. I used a fake celebrity endorsement of Billy Ray Cyrus, and It's fun. I think visually it looks pretty darn good. But one of the big takeaways from this assignment was understanding and applying Mayer's personalization, his Mayer's principles. And so that's a big part of this. And this document here just shows my ability to create and design screen layouts, tell a story, and use an appropriate template for multimedia production. One of the very first classes that I took was Current Trends in Education Technology. And for this assignment, I went to my art roots. One of the things that we looked at was geospatial technology and how we could use that in the classroom. And I really enjoyed that. I found out that there were a number of online museums that you can navigate and tour that I hadn't seen before. And this tool allows you to go and check it out. And for students who may come from a less advantaged family, or would have trouble traveling to these distant places, they could get a chance to tour and see these rather relics or really amazing museums through this virtual museum tour. And then I described here a lesson maybe an advanced placement art history teacher could use to help get students to go find a place, find a piece of artwork that they identify with or something they've found attractive, and then to do a critique. And even if they don't have a lot of experience in critique, here's some resources that would help them be able to do so. This was a big assignment. Again, I had Dr. Smith for this as a problems in instructional design, David Hendricks, Amber, and Christine. We all worked together on an exam prep. So as a student who came into the program in 2013, I had the option to either do this e-portfolio or take the comp exam. I'm completely nervous about taking the comp exam, so I decided to do the portfolio, which I'm realizing is probably a lot of work. And ironically, I had made a course on how to prepare for the exam. I think the instructional strategies of it are pretty sound. I think it looks predominantly okay. So as a student, I switched over to Student View in Canvas. They would be able to find this readily available computer-based instructional resource for preparing for the comp exam, and they could go through a whole bunch of the logistics and the content to prepare for it. The main meat of it, after helping to prepare students for writing an essay, was to take some of the key questions that were to come from faculty and from students who study together, and create a essay activity in which they would click here and get randomly prompted with a question, and they would go and write that as their prompt for the discussion. If they don't like that one, they can go pick another one. But so they would go and review these articles and respond and write to it. So pretty nifty. There was a rubric. The rubric would be used by peers and to evaluate everybody's questions. So it took advantage of some social learning as well. Moving on to Standard 3 learning environments. In addition to this larger Canvas course on preparing for the exam, this is our proposal, this exam prep course proposal. Again, this was a group effort. This is probably one of the most exhaustive proposals that I had participated in. It looks good. And it really clarified the objective outcomes. This next assignment is an ethics-related assignment in which in current trends in educational technology, we were to create a scenario and respond to peers' scenarios. And I came up with a scenario related to maybe a faculty concern in regards to a student participating in class, the requirements of like IT to kind of protect the privacy and maintain the personal integrity of the individual. I went through my analysis and my citation here, And also below here in the ethics part was my response to a peer, Kelly, about her scenario, which involved copyright and fair use. So in both of these cases here, we're discussing the ethics of the privacy of people's data, as well as understanding the ethical concerns of fair use. Surprisingly, these ethical concerns were not included in the 12 competencies of instructional designers in Appendix B. I think that's a mistake. Maybe it's more technically in mind. Here's the next one. This is diversity of learning, completed in the spring for distance learning. And this was, I think it's a unique solution that I think students, teenage students might be really interested in or find some interest in. It was trying to close the opportunity gap. There was a connection in this assignment that the more students who take AP classes have a greater readiness for college. In addition, the students who take more art-related classes were ones who were the least at risk for dropping out and were more likely to complete a degree. And so we recommended a course through Florida Virtual School, an AP course in the arts. In this case, it was for music appreciation. And we had a clear development plan. This was worked out by one of the high school instructors on the project. It was a group effort. I think it turned out well. I think it has some good evidence how the arts could help out youth, and I think it could be delivered online. The Hardee County District has some unique WMAX set up for their rural area, and I think it could really work. Moving on down to professional knowledge and skills. This is one of the more recent assignments that I'm most proud of. This is a project I've worked on with Dr. Lau's class on in Articulate. This is the first time using this application, and this was a cool game that we made.
Tower. Your planet stays
So,
clean because we work hard for you.
This was
Let
to
me explain how it
to
works.
address
Here at Cloud Tower.
a science class need, and we did it on the biospheres, the spheres of the Earth. And there's a number of different unique aspects of that project. I use this artifact to say that this is probably one of the best collaborative efforts that I had in the major. I think Shannon and I complemented each other well. I took on some more of the art and technical challenges, and Shannon came in from more the creative and pedagogical point of view and really took charge of the testing and getting iterative feedback. I felt like that part of the process was probably closest to the real world scenario that we would face making educational games. And in this project here, this is something we did early in current trends in educational technology. This is a final presentation that I put together about what I see as opportunities in teaching online courses for technology. And just a big thing for me back in 2013, maybe it was already obvious to everybody back then, but the ubiquity of video. We studied peer-driven networks, and we emphasized lifelong learnings. And these three concepts of video, use of video, and lifelong learning are things I'm actually still using in my curriculum. We've used a peer network-driven solution called Discord to engage the students. When I'm responding to student work, I'm routinely using video annotation tools like SyncSketch and some other annotation tools. And for this artifact, I'm stating that this is a form of leadership, not by telling other people what to do, but leading by example. So some of the methodologies that I started to develop and kind of characterize my own pedagogy back in 2013, I still apply them, and my fellow faculty have adopted them as well. In this fictitious front-end analysis, this kind of describes some of my ethics of trying to be inclusive to a diversity of learners and from different cultures. And even though, again, I try to take a lighthearted approach with this, it did come from a point of view to say, like, if there were a bunch of people working for a company where English was not their primary language, or there was their second language, or they were learning English, how would you operate a business and still treat everybody as best as you can and maintain profitability. And so this analysis here kind of goes through a fictitious scenario, but it kind of embraces that idea of trying to be inclusive and welcoming to all folks. And I personally have come to the belief that if you create educational resources that are useful to all people, if you're included in one segment of your learning population, typically it's going to be good for all of them. In the last grouping here, this is I had to pick 3 because it would be not symmetrical, even though you were just required to have 2. So these are way more written. They don't really have a visual to them. So this first one is a research paper I did on gamification. This is a topic in which I don't share a lot of favor with it, but it was a topic in which I probably complained too much about it. So I decided to give it a good faith effort and research the topic of gamification and see if I can find value in it. And I did, going through the rigor of doing research in this class. I found ways in which I could use it to enhance motivation in my classrooms. And I still haven't really applied it, but I grew in my appreciation of gamification and how it can impact motivation. And in this paper, I tied it to some of the theoretical foundations. You saw B.F. Skinner and some other behaviorists in there. So this is a good paper tying gamification, kind of a current trend towards early educational theories and behavior. As far as methodology, one of the classes I took was a foundation of educational research. I enjoyed it more than I expected. This research proposal is another example of using my knowledge of foundations of theory for psychology. I'm using an old bystand called the Stroop Interference Psychology Test, but I've applied it in a new context in augmented reality and virtual reality, and see how that would impact how I could use the Stroop test to see the impacts of changing the attention of the viewer by having them change the direction of their head. And so this research would be focused on inattentional blindness, and it goes through my process of coming up with this proposal. It has very focused research questions. The methodology is worked out in great detail, and this is a research proposal that I feel like I could actually execute, and I would be really interested in seeing how it would enhance my practice, because being able to direct the viewer's eye in these new immersive technology is going to be one of the big challenges. And for my final artifact here, I assessed and evaluated a now defunct virtual world called Grocket. And Grocket was a tool that used video and had a social learning aspect. And in this product, it just shows you how I reviewed the layout, its navigation, how well it supported multimedia, and then went into its rationale and use with students, how it compared to other computer-based learning environments, and the theories that kind of were behind it. But this was a cool piece of technology. I had heard about it before when I had read a book on the lean startup, so I was curious about it. And this is assessing and evaluating. So that was a virtual world that I looked at and provided some detailed analysis on. So that's it for my website. I'm going to go edit this video down, take off some of the rambling parts, hopefully. But I think I put this together pretty nice. I hope this meets everybody's expectations, and I'll replace this now that I have a video recorded.